in this video, we will be discussing the previous year question papers, questions based on consumer demand theory. On the basis of the videos that we have already done on consumer demand theory, that is on one on utility analysis, one on indifference curve analysis, and the last one on revealed preference theory. So the questions are based upon all the three videos that we have already discussed. So the first question would be from 2012 June paper 3. The question is match the items in the list 1 with the items in the list 2. That means the items, the list 1 includes the theories that we have already discussed, and the list 2 includes the proponents of that theory. The question is about matching the right ones. The first one is cardinal utility theory of demand. The second is revealed preference theory. Third being indifference preference theory of demand, and the fourth is the utility under uncertainty. So the economists given are Hicks, Marshall, Newman and Morgenstern, and fourth one is Samuelson. So we have since this is a very direct question, we can easily match the theories with the proponents. That is, the cardinal utility theory was we know that it was proposed by Alfred Marshall. So the first one can be matched with option 2 in list 2. And the second one is revealed preference theory. The revealed preference theory was given by again Samuelson, which is also direct. And the third one is the indifference preference theory was given by Hicks and Allen. So Hicks is given in list number 2 as option 1. So the third one can be matched with option 1 in list 2. The fourth one is utility under uncertainty. That was given by the uncertainty principle, or the uncertainty idea was given by Newman and Morgenstern. So the fourth one can be matched with the third one in the list 2. So the correct option would be option C. That is the first with 2, second one with the option 4, third with 1, and fourth one with option 3. So the answer for this question would be option C. Option C. The next question is from 2012 December paper 2. The question is, again this is also a chronological ordering of the theories we have already discussed. So the question is, identify the order of chronological development of the theory of demand. So the four theories are given. The first one is Marshall's theory of demand, indifference curves theory, revealed preference theory. The last one is weak preference ordering theory of demand. So since we already know that these theories are exactly given in the order in which they came up in consumer demand theory. That means first one was Marshall's theory of cardinal utility approach, or Marshall's theory of demand. The second one was where in Marshall's theory which Marshall's theory discussed about how we can cardinally measure or numerically measure utility, and how that can be used to explain the theory of demand. Option B is indifference curve theory, again which came up with the idea that instead of cardinal analysis of theory, we can ordinally we can rank our preferences and thereby maximize our utility. And third one is revealed preference theory, again which came as an improvement to both the cardinal utility approach as well as the ordinal utility approach. That is revealed preference theory given by Samuelson, which discussed about how individuals how they show their own preferences in a much more different manner than the cardinal and the ordinal utility or indifference curve analysis, which came up before. The fourth one is weak preference ordering demand of theory, which also came, which was followed, which came as an improvement towards revealed preference theory. So these theories are in the options given are exactly in the order of their appearance itself in the consumer demand theory. So the options answer for this question would be option D, A, B, C, and D. So the chronological development is A, B, C, D. That means Marshall's indifference curve, revealed preference theory, and weak preference ordering theory of demand. The answer is option D. Now the 2013 December paper 2. The question is, again this is also a chronological question to chronologically order the consumer demand theories. The first one is law of demand. Again second one law of revealed preference analysis. Third one indifference curve analysis. Fourth one is the law of diminishing marginal utility. So the answer for this question would be, as we know that it was Marshall who came up with the idea of utility, cardinal utility analysis, and he used that to explain the law of demand that he came up with, explain the behavior of people or how people demand commodities in the market. So again, law of demand was the first among all the other consumer demand theory that came up in the literature. So at first, law of demand would again be the first one to come. Then again, this law of demand was explained using the law of diminishing marginal utility. So we know that law of diminishing marginal utility is one of the assumptions of how law of demand works. So again, that was also put forward by Alfred Marshall. So we can order it accordingly. That means law of demand would be followed by a law of diminishing marginal utility. Again, after this came the indifference curve analysis, which was put forward by Hicks and Allen, which again changed the idea of how consumers choose their preferences. That means, as against cardinal utility analysis, the indifference curve analysis gave the idea that it is people who choose their preferences not cardinally, or it is not, we can never cardinally measure or numerically measure any utilities, but it is only that people choose their preferences according, or they order their preferences according to ranks. So that is what indifference curve analysis came up with. So the law of diminishing marginal utility can be followed by indifference curve analysis, and the last to come in this category was revealed preference analysis put forward by Samuelson. So revealed preference analysis was given by Samuelson again, which used, even though it used ordinal utility analysis to explain his theory or explain his concept, he again said that individuals' choices are more or less based on strong preferences, or they choose their preferences among the many, and on which they are always consistent. So the order of this question would be based on what is given in option B. That is, first one, law of demand comes first, followed by law of diminishing marginal utility, then by indifference curve analysis, and the last one would be revealed preference analysis. So the answer for this question would be option B. The next question is from 2015 June paper 2. Again, this is also a question where we should match the theories with their corresponding proponents. So the match list 1, the consumer behavior approach, with list 2, the economist with whom this is associated, and select the correct answer using the codes given below. The first list is, this is exactly similar to the question that we have discussed from 2012 June paper 3, that is cardinal approach, indifference curve approach, revealed preference theory, and neo-utility theory of risky choices or uncertainty theory uncertainty theory in consumer demand. Again with list 2, that is Newman Morgenstern, the second one is Alfred Marshall, third one is Hicks, and fourth one is Samuelson. So we can easily match this since we have already discussed this question. Option A, cardinal approach is associated with Alfred Marshall, then indifference curve with J.R. Hicks, and revealed preference theory with Samuelson, and option D, neo-utility theory of risky choices, can be associated with Newman and Morgenstern. So this the answer for this question would be option 3. Option 3 would be the answer for this question. Now the next question was asked from the indifference curve analysis. From that part, the first question was from 2012 June paper 3. The question is, the revealed preference approach to the derivation of indifference curve. Option A assumes stability over time of observed person states. Option B assumes all people have identical taste. Option C relies on repeated repeated observations of the market behavior of a single person. Option D is correctly described by both A and C. So the revealed preference approach, so the indifference curve analysis, we have already discussed in the previous video on indifference curve analysis, that it was followed by certain assumptions and based on which the indifference curve theory holds its stand. So it assumed that this is again directly based on that assumptions exactly. So the first one is assumed stability over time of an observed person's taste. So this taste and preferences of each consumers should be stable over time, and only then the idea of indifference curve theory would be exact. And second one, option B is given as assumes that all people have identical taste. So such an assumption cannot be, we have already discussed in that video that such an assumption is never possible in case of an indifference curve, because each one have their own preferences and their identities or preferences cannot be matched, or it can never be equal for each and every one. So this option B was again we have to option B is something which we have to which we should not consider here when we consider indifference curve theory. Now option C is relies on the repeated observations of the market behavior of a single person. Again, the field preference theory also assumes that it is based upon it exactly the revealed preference theory. One of the important feature of the revealed preference theory was that it was based on how exactly the individuals behave in a market, apart from the introspective method or self-observation method that was used in the cardinal utility approach. So this revealed preference theory always assumed that the individual's observations are based upon what they exactly behave in the market. So we can be sure that option A and option C would be exactly right, while option B, that all people are having identical taste, cannot be applied right into this question or into this theory of revealed preference. So which gives us the answer that option D, it is correctly described by both A and C as the right answer. That means it is the revealed preference theory used to derive indifference curve theory assumes stability of over time of an observed person's taste, and also it relies on repeated market observation. That means it exactly explains how a person, it is based on exactly how a person behaves in the market. So A and C are exactly correct assumptions of revealed preference theory. So the answer for this question would be option D. Now the next question is from 2013 December paper 3. Which of the following is true? This is regarding indifference curve. The option A is indifference curve slopes downwards from left to right. Option B, indifference curves slope downwards from right to left. Option C, indifference curves are convex to the point of origin to the two axes. And option D, indifference curves never intersect each other. Again, these are the exact properties of this question is based on the exact properties of indifference curve, again with something which we have already discussed. So the first option is, so it is easier to identify which one is wrong in this case. So we know that indifference curve, so option A, indifference curve slopes downwards from left to right is exactly true in this case, because in indifference curve is downward sloping curve. So again, that downward sloping curve means it is sloping downwards from left to right. And again option B was the exact opposite. So again option B would be wrong, because it says that indifference curve slopes downwards from right to left, which would make it in a different position, which would give it a different which would again change the idea of what an indifference curve is. So option B is exactly wrong in this case. Considering option C, that is indifference curves are convex to the point of origin to the two axes, is also again true, because since it slopes downwards from left to right, it will always be convex to the origin of the 2 points. And also option D, indifference curve, no two indifference curve intersect each other, is also an important feature of or an important property of an indifference curve, that two indifference curves can never intersect each other. That means they cannot join together at a single point, because that might change the assumptions of or exact meanings or idea about what an indifference curve exactly is. So the answer for this question would be, we have to exclude option B, and so option A, C and D would be the right answers, or would be the exact properties of an indifference curve. So the answer for this question would be A, C and D. That is option C would be the answer for this question. Option C, that means excluding option B, all the three are the properties of an indifference curve. Option C would be the right answer. The next question is from 2014 December paper 2. The question is, when a consumer is in equilibrium, the marginal rate of substitution of X and Y is 2.5. If the price of the commodity Y is 16, then what will be the price of the commodity X? So this is the question where we have to use the equilibrium condition on the basis of indifference curve analysis. So let us find the answer. The answer is that here the marginal rate of substitution is given as 2.5. So according to the condition of consumer's equilibrium under the indifference curve analysis, the marginal rate of substitution of X and Y should be equal to the ratio of price of the two commodities, that is Px by Py. So we have to directly substitute the values which we already which are already given in the question to this formula and find the value of X commodity. That means we the values already given are the marginal rate of substitution which is given as 2.5, the price of the commodity Y again which is given as 60. So the question was to find the value of price of the commodity X. So we can directly substitute these values to this formula. So again that will make the equation as 2.5 is equal to Px divided by the 16. That means 16 is the price of the commodity. So so we will get the value of the price of the commodity X as 40. That means Px is equal to 40. So thus the price of commodity X is 40. So in such a question, in case of such a question where we have to use a equilibrium condition, we know exactly from the question itself that it is already said that the consumer is in equilibrium and his marginal rate of substitution is given. So this marginal rate of substitution is given under the indifference curve analysis. So we have to use the consumer's equilibrium condition used under the marginal indifference curve analysis. So all we have to do is that find the marginal equilibrium condition, substitute the values which are given and find the value of the unknown variable. That is the value to be found was price of the commodity X. So we have found it as Px is equal to 40. So therefore the answer for this question is option A. Price of the commodity X is equal to 40. The next question is directly from the marginal utility analysis that we had discussed. The question is from 2012 June paper 3. Question is, which of the following are the conditions of consumer's equilibrium in a two commodity case where U is equal to utility and P1 and P2 are the prices of the two goods. So we are very sure about, since we must know about which are the equilibrium conditions which are given under the consumer's equilibrium using the marginal utility analysis which was given by Alfred Marshall. So the options given are change in U by change in X is equal to 0. That is again change in U by change in X would be the marginal utility of commodity X, consuming commodity X, MUX would be equal to 0. Option B is change in utility 1 divided by change in utility 2. The marginal utilities of the ratio of the marginal utilities of the two commodities would be equal to 0. Option C is the square of the marginal utilities or the second order derivative or second order change. That means delta square U divided by delta X square is less than 0 is another condition which is given, and option D is none of the above. So we have to be since we have to choose one of the options, it is important that we remember the condition which was given on the basis of marginal utility for the equilibrium condition under the marginal utility analysis. So we will see which one is the answer. So the answer for this question is option D, none of the above. None of the above, that means A, B and C, all the three of them are exactly opposite of the equilibrium condition which was given under the marginal utility analysis. And let us see why. Because the consumer's equilibrium in the purchase of two commodities is always attained when the marginal utility of marginal utility of X commodity equals the marginal utility of commodity Y, and that is when marginal utility of good X is equal to marginal utility of good Y. And also and specifically in the case of two commodities where the price of the commodities are also given, we have to consider that in case of two goods, a consumer attains equilibrium when he spends his limited income in such a way that the marginal utilities of both the goods he consumes are equal. So when it comes to two commodity model or when it comes to the stage where we have two or more commodities, a person will always have to choose the corresponding levels of quantities of each X and Y based upon his income also, or based upon the income that he already has. So he has to allocate his income in such a way that the marginal utilities that he is deriving from both the commodities are always equal. So or in other words, the utility derived from the last rupee spent on each good is equal, assuming price of each goods to be equal. So he should spend his income in such a manner that the last rupee, the utility derived from the last rupee he is spending on both the spending on the consumption of both the commodities is equal at the end. And also which means that and also it assumes that the price of both the commodities are equal. So but when the prices are different, so this happens, MUX should be equal to MUY when the prices are equal, but this is not the condition everywhere. That means, but when the prices are different for both the commodities, then the condition of the equilibrium would change to MUX by PX is equal to MUY by PY, which is equal to the marginal utility of the money that he is spending and which is assumed to be constant for every unit of money. So MUX, the marginal utility of X being equal to the marginal utility of Y, is a condition of equilibrium when there are two goods and also when the prices are equal, or prices of X and Y commodity are equal. But this is not the case everywhere. The prices of commodities can be different in certain other situations. In that case, the equilibrium condition would change to marginal utility of X, change to the ratio of marginal utility of X to its corresponding price, which will be equal to the marginal utility of Y to the price of the commodity X, again which is equal to the marginal utility of money. That means marginal utility of every rupee that he is spending, which is again assumed to be constant. So MUX by PX is equal to MUY by PY is equal to MUY by marginal utility of money is the equilibrium condition when prices are different. So here not even one of the options given are in this format, or it should have been like MUX by MUY is equal to 0. So MUX should be equal to MUY, and also it is given that P1 and P2 are different prices. So this is a case where the prices of two commodities are different. So none of these options match with the equilibrium conditions that we have discussed here. So the options would be, the answer for this question would be option D. Option D, none of the above. Option D, none of the above. So the next question is from 2013 June paper 3. The question is, the utility function is given as U is equal to f of xy, two commodities xy, where U is the total utility of x and y, and x and y are the two commodities that are being consumed. The budget constraint is given as C is equal to Px into x plus Py into y, where Px and Py are the prices of x and y respectively. The condition for the maximization of utility is, the condition for the maximization of utility, or the condition where the equilibrium point of a consumer is attained, or it is at that, it is again the same point where the consumer is attaining his maximum utility. So since the budget constraint is given and we have an indifferent utility function, we can always use the condition, we can always use the equilibrium condition which we had discussed in the previous question, when there are two commodities and when the prices of the commodities are different. So the options given are delta f by delta x the whole divided by delta f by y, delta y is equal to Py by Px. Option B is delta f by delta x divided by delta f by delta y, which is again equal to Px by Py. Option C is change in f by change in x is equal to change in f by y, which is equal to Px by Py. And option D is change in f by change in x is equal to change in f by change in y, which is again equal to Py by Px. So we have to check which one of these matches the equilibrium conditions of a consumer when he is consuming two commodities and when his prices are different. So this change in f by change in x directly gives us the marginal utility or marginal. This is the first derivative of this particular function u is equal to f of xy, which will give us the marginal utility of consuming that particular commodity, that is x. So instead of change in f and change in f by x, we can modify it as marginal utility of x and marginal utility of y correspondingly. So we have to check which one of these matches the equilibrium condition of two commodity under the two commodity model. So from that, again, based on what we had discussed in the previous question, we can easily find out the answer. That means change in f by change in x, that is marginal utility of x divided by marginal utility of y, would be equal to Px by Py would be the answer for the question. That means option B would be the answer for this particular question, because MUX by MUY is equal to Px by Py is the exact answer for this question, which is based on the equilibrium condition of the consumer under the marginal utility analysis, where two commodities with two different prices are used. So the answer for this question is option B, change in f by change in x divided by change in f by change in y, again is equal to Px by Py. Option B is the answer. Now 2014 June paper 3. The question is, which of the following are the basic assumptions of cardinal utility analysis? So this is the based upon the assumptions of marginal utility or cardinal utility analysis. The first one is utility is a measurable and quantifiable unit, a measurable and quantifiable entity. Second one is marginal utility of money income changes with changes in real income. Third one, utilities derived from goods are interdependent. Fourth one is that the use of introspective method in judging the behavior of marginal utility. So the question is based on the assumptions of cardinal utility. So the first assumption that the first option that utility is measurable and is a quantifiable entity is also is actually the exact meaning of cardinal utility analysis, or exact assumption, the first and the foremost assumption that was given by Alfred Marshall, that we can exactly or numerically measure cardinal utility. So here in this question, option 1 would be a right answer. Now moving on to the second option, that is the marginal utility of money changes with changes in real income. But this was again this statement is opposite to what or exactly opposite to what Alfred Marshall assumed in his cardinal utility analysis, that the marginal utility, according to Alfred Marshall, the marginal utility of money does not change, or it remains constant over every units of money. So for whatever units of income or whatever units of money that he is spending, the marginal utility that he derives from the spending of that particular unit of money would always remain constant. So which means that option 2 again would be a wrong answer. That means we should not consider option 2. Now option 3. Option 3 is that utilities derived from various goods are interdependent. This is also an opposite statement of something which was assumed by Alfred Marshall, that the utilities derived from various goods are independent. That means each goods or each commodities have their own independent utilities, or their own way. Each consumers have their own independent methods of achieving satisfaction. So utilities, so option 3, utilities derived from various goods are interdependent would be a wrong option, because it was assumed to be independent by Alfred Marshall. Now fourth one is that the use of introspective method in judging the behavior of marginal utility. So this is an exact assumption, because how Alfred Marshall came into this idea of cardinal utility was based on introspective method. That means upon which was something which was based on self-observation. That means it was nothing based on what exactly an individual might behave in the market, or it was not based on any market observations or something, but it was purely based upon self-introspection or self-understanding, self-observation. So again option 4 is a right answer. So the options that we can exclude here are option 2 and option 3. So which will give us the answer to this question, that is 1 and 4 are correct. So the answer would be option C, 1 and 4 are correct. Answer is option C. Now the 2014 December paper 2 question, which is called the Gauss's second law. So this is also another other name which was given to the analysis or laws or rules which was applied to cardinal utility analysis. The options are option A, law of equi-marginal utility, option B, law of diminishing marginal utility, option C is revealed preference theory, and option D, indifference curve approach. So Gauss's first law was also called the law of diminishing marginal utility was called as Gauss's first law. So which gives us the answer that law of equi-marginal utility was was given as Gauss's second law. So this is again a direct question, so we can directly answer this. We'll get the answer directly, that is option A, law of equi-marginal utility was given as was also named as Gauss's second law. So the answer for this question is option A, law of equi-marginal utility. The next question is based on revealed preference theory. The question is from 2014 December paper 3. The question is, which among the following statements are true for the revealed preference theory? Choose the correct answer from the code given below. So the statements are, first one is income elasticity of demand should be positive. The second one is that consumer preferences satisfy strong ordering. So the codes are option A, both are true, option B, none are true, C, only one is true, and D, only two is true. So based on what we have already discussed, we know exactly that the yield preference theory only considered the positive income elasticity aspect of consumers' behavior or consumers' choices. So option statement 1 is exactly true in this case, and option 2, statement 2, that is consumer preferences satisfy strong ordering, is also one of the important assumptions that was given in the revealed preference theory, that once a consumer has chosen a particular a bundle or a particular quantity or a particular preference, he has revealed his preference, and he will be keeping on considering that at all times, when at every time he is given with, or he is given with any sort of option, any other sort of options. So both these statements, option 1 and option 2, are exactly true in this case of revealed preference theory. So the answer would be option A, both are true. So since these both statements are true and is exact assumptions of revealed preference theory as given by Samuelson, first the answer would be option A, both are true. The next question is again on revealed preference theory. This is an assertion reason question. The assertion is the revealed preference theory excludes the explanation given to given goods, and the reason is revealed preference theory considers only negative income elasticity of demand. The options given are both A and R are true, and R is the correct. The reason is the correct explanation of the assertion. Option 2 is both A and R are true, and R does not explain A. 3 is A is true but R is false, and 4 is A is false but R is true. So if we check this assertion and the reason given below, here, we can know that revealed preference theory only explained about the positive income elasticity of consumers' demand, and that it did not have any sort of explanation for how consumers choose or how consumer behavior can change according to the nature of goods, especially given case of given goods, and also then because it only explained about the positive income elasticity of demand, consumers' demand. So which means that, which gives us the answer that the assertion is true. That means it did not give any explanation about how consumers are maximizing their satisfaction or utility in case of given goods. That means, and also that it is because it only tried to explain the positive income elasticity of demand. So the reason is again wrong here, which means that the assertion is true and the reason is false. The answer, so therefore the answer for this question would be option 3, that is the assertion is true but the reason is false, option 3. Now this is a question from the 2016 July paper 2. The question is the Slutsky equation explains option 1 demand for durable goods, option 2 supply of durable goods, and option 3 a split between the price, income and substitution effects, and option 4 demand for rare and non-reproducible goods. So this is a question which is based on the Slutsky's substitution effect or Slutsky's preference theorem, which was used to explain how there is a distinction between how the total change, how any changes in price can affect the choices of a consumer, how his bundle, the consumer's bundle, choice of each bundle changes according to the changes in the prices of each commodities. So we know that before going to the answer, we should know that the price of something, if the price of something goes down, we buy more of it. That means if price of something falls, we definitely have a tendency to buy more of that. So this total price effect, that means this this behavior of a particular consumer that he is having a tendency to buy something more when the price of a particular good falls, is called the total price effect. So such a behavior is called such behavior is called the total price effect, and with this price effect again can be split into two effects. That means the first is the income effect and the second is the substitution effect. That means it has two parts. This total price effect has two parts, that is it can either happen, that means this change in behavior can happen either due to the income effect or due to the substitution effect. The income effect means that it is less expensive, then we have more purchasing power, and because it is a smaller drain from our income. That means when we have when there is a fall in the price of a particular commodity, we feel like we are being richer than what we already were. So which means that we always have a tendency to purchase more of that particular income with the increased income that we are having. So which means that it is a smaller range. So we should only use lesser amount. We should only allocate only a lesser amount of our income to the consumption of to the purchase of that particular commodity. That is how income effect works. That means we feel richer and so we change our consumption pattern. While substitution effect is a change. Substitution effect is because it offers more utility per unit of money or other alternatives become less attractive. So if suppose the price of a substitute good falls, definitely the tendency to buy that commodity more and more would be would also such a behavior would always be a part of consumers behavior. So this substitution effect happens when you substitute a particular commodity for another for which the price has fallen. Suppose if you if the price of commodity X has fallen, then it is always sure for the consumers to substitute this commodity X for buy. That means whose price has not changed or it is somewhat bigger, relatively higher than the commodity X. So such a substitution, when you substitute for one commodity to the other, that is what is called substitution effect. So this total price effect can be divided into income effect and substitution effect. And what Slutsky did was that he managed to find an equation which was used to decompose this effect based on the Hicksian and Marshallian demand curves. So Eugene Slutsky used this idea that this total price effect can again be divided into income and substitution effect individually, and we can isolate both these effects from the total change in consumption pattern whatever the person is having into two parts, that is into income effect and into substitution effect. So this is what Slutsky in his equation managed to provide us with. So this is what Slutsky's substitution effect or Slutsky's preference theory is about. That means he used his theory or his idea to explain the indifference curve analysis as well as the law of demand. That means he used both this idea to explain the Hicksian as well as the Marshallian demand curves. So, and also one of the important important features that point that we have to remember is that whether it is a substitution effect or the income effect is positive or negative for the when prices rise. That means it can either be price rise or price fall, depends on the type of commodity that the particular person is choosing. That means if it is a substitute goods, the total price effect, TE would give us the total price effect, SE would be the substitution effect, and IE is the income effect. So if it is a substitute good, the total price effect would always be positive, and also for a substitute good, the substitution effect would be positive. That means if the price of the commodity, a particular commodity rises, then there will always be a tendency for the consumer to consume more of the substitute rather than the particular commodity for which the price has risen. So option, the concept that substitute goods will have always a positive change in case of substitution effect will be positive for substitute goods, and the income effect for inferior goods would be positive. For inferior goods, the income effect would be positive, or that the price rise would only lead to a positive change in the consumption of inferior goods. And considering complementary goods, for complementary goods, these would be the total effect would be negative, while the substitution effect for complementary goods would again be negative, while the income effect for normal goods will always be negative in case of normal goods. So this is what we have also we need to consider or we need to keep in mind when we discuss about Slutsky's substitution effect. So all Slutsky's preference theory gave us that he used his ideas to distinguish between what is substitution effect and what is income effect. That means he managed to decompose, or he managed to isolate each of these income and the substitution effect from the total price effect that happened due to an increase or decrease in the price level of a particular commodity, and how that changes the consumer's pattern. So this was what Slutsky used Slutsky used to explain the Hicksian and Marshallian demand curves. So the answer for this question would be option 3. That means Slutsky's equation gives us a split between price, income and substitution effect. That is, he splits this price effect, total change in a consumer's behavior towards a price rise or a price fall, into income and substitution effect. So Slutsky's substitution theory or Slutsky's preference theory always gives us this idea that means he decomposes the price effect into two, the income and the substitution effect. So the answer for this question is option 3, the split between the income and the substitution effect. Now this is a question from June 2019 question paper, that is this is again a match the following. That means the list one gives us each of the concepts and we have to match the particular name of which concept is explained here. The list one gives option A is various combinations that a consumer can purchase. Various combinations that a consumer can purchase. Option B is various combinations of two commodities providing equal satisfaction to the consumer. Option C is a set of indifference curves, and option D is point of tangency of a budget line on an indifference curve. So in these cases, in these match the following questions, we have to at first we have to go for the easiest ones, that means the ones which we are very sure of, and then only we have to choose for the other questions. That means option C, that means the list, option C in list 1 is given as a set of indifference curve. So we are very sure that the set of indifference curve is always called an indifference map. So we can directly match option C from list 1 to option 1 from list 2. So we can choose the option, corresponding option here, that means which matches option C with option 1. Option C with option 1 is matched in option B as well as in option D. So we can go for another one, that means a point of tangency, that means the option D from list 1, that is the point of tangency of a budget line on an indifference curve. So this is what consumer's equilibrium is under indifference curve analysis. So we can match point, so there is a consumer's equilibrium already given here. So we can match this consumer's equilibrium with option D from list 1, that is point of tangency of a budget line on a indifference curve with consumer's equilibrium. So we can match D to 4, that means D to 4 is matched in option D. So therefore we have almost reached the right answer. So which one is the exact answer for exact option for the question options given here? That means C can be matched to option 1 and D can be matched to option 4. So this happens in option D. So the other two options left are option A and option B from list 1. That means various combinations that a consumer can purchase. That a consumer can purchase is actually shows the budget of is actually explaining the budget line of a consumer. So therefore, which means that it shows the what are the income levels what are the exact income level that a person is receiving, based on the basis of which he can undertake any kind of consumption activities. So option A can be matched with option 3, that is budget line. That means various combinations that a consumer can purchase means something which he can always afford, which is given by the budget line in the indifference curve analysis. So option A can be matched with option 3, and option B is various combinations of two commodities providing equal satisfaction to the consumer. So that is an explanation given to indifference curve. So and that is exactly what indifference curve means. So we can match option B with option 2. So this gives us the answer option B, option D from the options given here, that is option A is matched to option 3, that means various combinations that a consumer can purchase is always a budget line. Then option B is various combinations of two commodities providing equal satisfaction to the consumer is an indifference curve. So B can be matched with 2, and a set of indifference curve is called an indifference map. So C can be matched with option 1. The point of tangency of a budget line on indifference curve, that is option D from list 1, can be again matched with it is a condition for consumer's equilibrium, which can be matched with option 4, consumer's equilibrium. So therefore the answer for this question is option D, option D. So this is the last question based on this consumer demand theory. The question is from December 2019. Arrange in chronological order the following economists in relation to their contribution to the theory of consumer behavior. Choose the correct answers. Again, this is exactly something which we had already discussed from 2012 questions onwards, where it means a chronological ordering of each of the theories. So the options given are the different economists who had given their own contributions to the consumer demand theory. The first option is from Alfred Marshall, Richard Stone, P. Samuels, Paul Samuelson, J.R. Hicks and R.J.D. Allen. Second option is Richard Stone, P. Samuelson, J.R. Hicks and R.J.D. Allen, and then Alfred Marshall. Option 3 is Paul Samuelson, Hicks, Allen, Stone and Marshall. Option 4 is Marshall, Hicks, Allen, Samuelson and R. Stone. So before we check each and every options, all we have to make sure is that whichever option, Alfred Marshall's cardinal utility analysis was the first one which actually came into the which gave an exactly ordered explanation of consumers demand preferences or consumers demand which was used to explain consumers demand consumers demand behavior. So Alfred Marshall would always be the first one in the row. So therefore the options where Alfred Marshall's comes first is option 1 and option 4. So then we have to know which were the other theories that followed and the other economists who followed Marshall and who may be developing new theories which try to explain or which try to improve Marshall's theory. So we know that after cardinal utility analysis, it was the indifference curve analysis which came as an improvement towards or which explained consumers' behavior in a particularly a different way, or rather in an opposite way than what Marshall gave us, because Marshall's utility theory was also always based upon the cardinal analysis or numerical measurement of utility, while indifference curve analysis was based on the idea of ordinal utility or ordinal or preferring or ranking or ordering of individual preferences. So therefore the indifference curve analysis came exactly after Alfred Marshall's cardinal utility analysis, and the indifference curve analysis was given by Hicks and Allen in their studies, through their studies. So Alfred Marshall is exactly followed by Hicks and Allen in option 4 alone. So since we have reduced the options, we have eliminated option 2 and option 3, which left us with option 1 and option 4, and then we can again eliminate option 1 on the grounds that Marshall's cardinal utility analysis was followed by the indifference curve analysis theory, which was given by Allen and Hicks and Allen. So which gives us again eliminates option 1 and gives us takes us to option 4, that is Alfred Marshall, J.R. Hicks, R.J.D. Allen, Hicks and Allen, and Samuelson and Richard Stone. So this is exactly the chronological order in which how the consumers demand theory developed over time, and this was the order in which each economist contributed to the theory of consumer demand. So the answer for this question again would be option 4, that is Marshall, Hicks and Allen with indifference curve theory, Samuelson with revealed preference theory, and Richard Stone with his ideas on linear expenditure system, etc. So option 4 is the answer. That is Alfred Marshall started his consumer demand analysis in 1819 with his cardinal utility approach, who also assumed independent and additive utilities. That was the assumptions used by Alfred Marshall. Now the indifference curve approach is attributed to Hicks and Allen in their paper titled A Reconsideration of the Theory of Value, Economica, 1934, and the revealed preference hypothesis can be is given by Paul Samuelson, which is given in the Foundations of Economic Analysis, in the book Foundations of Economic Analysis, which came out was published in the year 1947. And Richard Stone and D.A. Rove, the durability of consumers' durable goods is another theory which was used, which came up in 1960 and extended the dynamic model to a wider range of commodities. So all the theories that came after revealed preference theories were more or less dynamic theories which were used to explain innumerable behavior or consumers' behavioral patterns in the market alone. So this dynamic model was again given by Richard Stone and D.A. Rove in 1916. Another widely used model was the stock adjustment principle, which came up in 1958 and was given by Nerloff, and it was initially used in the study of consumer durables. So these are the other consumer demand theories which came up after the revealed preference theory of Samuelson. There was stock adjustment principle in 1958 by Nerloff, which was used to study the behavior of consumer durables, And then came Hotakar and Taylor's consumer demand in the United States 1966, who extended this stock adjustment principle to non-durables as well, and also gave the name of habit creation principle. So stock adjustment principle is associated with Nerlo, which came up in 1958. The habit creation principle or the theory which explains non-durables was given by Hotakar and Taylor in 1966, and then Richard Stone's linear expenditure models came up in 1954 in Economic Journal. So this was his who suggested that one of the earlier linear expenditure models in which are usually formulated on the basis of a utility function from which demand function are derived in the normal way. So this is another linear expenditure model which was put forward by Richard Stone in 1954, again after the Samuelson's revealed preference theory. So this is exactly the chronological order in which the consumer demand theory developed over time, and the last one to come up with was Hotakar's habit creation principle in 1966. So this was the last question. This was the last question from the previous year questions based on consumer demand theory, which included all the three topics that we have covered, that is the marginal utility analysis given by Alfred Marshall, the indifference curve analysis by Hicks and Allen, the revealed preference theory by Samuelson. So all the questions are exactly or directly based upon the assumptions of each of these theories or properties of each of these theories, or even most of the questions are based on chronological ordering of each of these theories, or in the order in which they appeared in the consumer demand theory. So more or less this part is easier when compared to the other parts, because the questions are direct and easily related to whatever we have discussed. So with this we are finishing off with the consumer demand theory. Thank you.